Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 653, recorded on Friday, October 8th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have a brand new guest, Viamel.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Let's see. We'll start with a screenshot. Tuzoku sees the skies over Barovia in the 527th screenshot of the week. Believe that is from the top of the castle. That's probably where it is. Top of castle, Ravenloft. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. Next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages. At DDOcast on Twitter is the best place, or our website, DDOcast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, hey, we got preview 2 of Update 51, and there were some, I would say, meaningful changes this time. So we'll be going through that. We got our new guest, Viamel, who we'll get to know a little bit more. Actually, we'll just do that now. Viamel, say hi. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Okay. I'm a player in Lava Divers, and I build stuff. I make builds a lot, and I've been really deep diving on the Epic Destinies through the Vamani previews and doing pretty detailed write-ups with Grunthorno, who's just another player. Yeah, and I have thoughts about the changes, so we're going to talk about
thoughts.
them.
Thoughts are great. Yeah, so a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Should be a good show. We'll dive into a bunch of stuff. So we'll jump into the game news, which again will kind of really just be the game news is Update 51 Preview 2, really related. Not much outside of that. However, we will start by talking about kind of the more boring stuff, but stuff that people always want to know too. Bonus days, double remnants boost, along with a +5 Reaper XP boost. So you get twice the chance for remnants and 5% Reaper XP through October 10th. And then store news. The sale is Monster Madness, so that's 25% off of select monster manuals, Slayer boosts, select pet certificates, tricks, companions, and pet renames through October 15th. You can also get a free Secret Door Divining Rod with the coupon code Open It Up on October 14th. I think I saw someone mention that this is the second time in a couple weeks that this has been in the freebie.
Maybe, but
they don't pay attention to it that well.
It's little quality of life stuff. Who cares?
Yeah. Let's see. The other thing with the store is they have temporarily enabled the, quote, system browser function of the DDO store. As far as I know, this is still up. Although
I don't know what that is.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Instead of the store opening in-game, it's going to open in your default system browser. Which also means that the tried-on feature of cosmetics will not function while this is the case. They didn't really get any more details than that, other than that's what's going on with the store. So it will have to open up in your browser. I did see a few players mention that in this store functionality, they do have to I think it was maybe it was cookies or something that they have turned limited, or a security feature of a browser pop-ups. Maybe it was something along those lines. Made it not work so well, so they had to turn that off and then turn it back on when they were done, kind of a thing, which is a little bit annoying. But no word on what's causing that or why that is. But there you go. And also just take a moment at this point. There's not going to be a community news section this week. I think Jerry is out of the office, so there's no Chronicle this week. There's none of that stuff. Check us out. If you want to watch us play DDO on DDOcast, twitch.tv/DDOcast, you can do that. Usually Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. and D&D night on Sundays at Twitch at 7 p.m. at twitch.tv/DDO stream. This week I'll be DMing on that, but that's really kind of all there is. All right, let's talk about Update 51 Preview 2, because that's what we're all here. This is a big and important update. Epic Destinies are completely changing.
I would say that this is the biggest system change since Update 14,
which was Update 14.
Menace of the Underdark, where we originally got Epic
okay.
Destinies.
Yeah, that would make sense. Maybe Reaper mode?
No.
I mean, Reaper mode would be close.
Reaper mode's sort of big, but it's also sort of the same game. You're just making...
That's true.
Yeah, like this is going to change how you interact with your class functions in a fun and I think really cool way.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we want to talk about the epic feats that you just get granted?
Well, let's start with the generic release notes.
Oh, sure.
I just again for the show notes, like I did for the previous preview, we're just gonna link to the overall info, which has the show notes, but then it also has links to the various trees. If I link to each tree, the show notes would, I mean, there's 12 trees, plus the feats, plus an overview. Like, there'd just be a lot of links to follow. So we're just gonna make you click an extra thing if you want to go through there. But it also gives you a nice directory that you can kind of go through anyways. So here's the new stuff. Hey, there's a new epic past life feat to accompany the new Magus of the Eclipse. So this is going to give you, it's an arcane past life stance. It'll be +1 spell penetration per stack of the life, as well as the typical passive 1% absorption of acid, cold, electric, and fire. So that's kind of neat.
And I think there's some concerns from some of our DC custom mains that are popping around the place that they were going to struggle with spell pen because we're losing it a little bit. So this will be a nice place for people to pick it back up.
Sure. I do think it's a little funny that here's a new epic past life to tie in with the new Magus of the Eclipse Destiny. So, loosely we have one epic past life for each Destiny, except we just lost the Destiny and we're not...
Yeah, now we have 5-4-4, but...
There's also that, but I'm less concerned about that, to be honest. But yeah, it's still just...
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, if you're a hardcore DC caster, you're not using this feat. You're using the alacrity, the spellcasting alacrity to get your cooldowns down. But if you need it, this is here, and that's cool.
Well, the thing that's fun about spell penetration that will play really well with how past lives work is a lot of monsters you just don't need spell penetration for.
Yeah.
And you don't need extra spell penetration for. So it'll be kind of a nice trade-off. Like, oh, I'm going to fight a bunch of drow. Maybe I needed the extra +3 spell penetration for this quest, right?
This is just going to mean that I have the alacrity and this past life on a hotbar where I can change easily. Where normally I line them up on my hotbar like I'm going to do anything with them and I don't touch them.
Right. And that's kind of what we're getting at. Like the past lives we have right now, like I don't find myself changing between them, right? Whatever build I'm on determines which one I'm using. So
I think that this actually opens up a very cool aspect of design where you're encouraged to interact with your past lives actively, and I think that's great.
Missing?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I would like that for more of the other trees. I think the only other swap I do is in heroic. Sometimes I put the regen thing from primal on instead of the damage.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like I think that this opens up a really cool avenue where you're like, okay, do I want to be a little bit more effective in one way or a little bit more effective in another way, and that both are applicable to my build.
Sometimes, like I might find myself switching in and out of the skill bonus one if I'm doing like trapping, but that's kind of it. Let's see. Moving along. Alchemist Sanctified Vial spell now requires 1 level of Cleric, Favored Soul, or Paladin, or, this is the new part, any point spent in the new Divine Crusader, Exalted Angel, or Unyielding Sentinel Epic Destinies. Kind of cool. Uh,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what Sanctified Vial does.
it's a holy water spell.
Do people use it?
I mean, I don't. I don't know why. Look, I don't know why you would. Like, if I remember rightly, it's just we could look it up, but it's like extra damage. It's damage to undead.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not something that you're gonna like. Why not just use one of the other damage spells you have, right? Like
Yeah,
that's kind of the thing about it. So
that's funny. This is a weird one where I kind of like the idea behind
yeah, right.
this change, which is like you should be like you should have the capacity to have multi-classing be on flavor. I think that's cool. That's one of the few times the game is actively encouraging you to multi-class beyond just like build optimization. Where it's
Right.
actually saying like you should splash other stuff. And that part is really cool as like a design idea. The actual application here, I don't know. I'd have to spend time looking at it, but I don't. It
It's
doesn't jump out at me.
It's 1d4 plus 4 bane damage per caster level to undead and extra planetary creatures. Scales with 4 spell power. It has a banish effect on extra
Okay.
planar creatures.
Is this a really high level alch spell? Where is it?
It is level 4.
Oh, here it is. Okay. That's kind of wild.
So, yeah. I don't know. I'd make something go boom instead. That's kind of why I don't use it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this seems like a toe in the water for doing interesting encouragement of
Yes.
cross class, but this ain't it.
Yeah.
That's okay though.
A variety of set bonus tooltips have been corrected. The Crocodile Maw hand reps now properly take sentience. Featherfall augments and items no longer toggle off Warlock's Celestial Spirit. That's kind of nice. That was always a pain in the ass. Items in your inventory are no longer affected by random durability loss from the combat flow. Jerry mentioned this when he was on the show last week.
Yes.
I
This means your deadly scrolls stay in your bag.
They don't get damaged.
Yeah, and those radiant force field potions that you've been collecting from your daily dice rolls, they don't get randomly destroyed.
Yep. I don't know if you were around or remember this, but still one of my favorite all-time forum posts. I've mentioned this on the show before, but there's someone wrote. This was back when Shroud was like endgame, like heroic Shroud was more or less endgame. Maybe a little after that. It might have been Towers, but before Epics, I think.
Yeah.
And someone went in there and Eretricos meteor swarmed them, and a bunch of their resurrection scrolls got destroyed. And so they wrote a legal brief. Person who's clearly a lawyer, but they wrote a legal brief and posted it on the forums to sue, like action to sue Eretricos for like
property damage.
Yes. It was amazing. It's probably still there if you want to go looking for it. But see, the Fate Spinner will now remind you when you haven't unlocked all of the new ED trees.
Yeah,
that's
good.
Let's just take a quick moment. Make sure you unlock them all because you get points to spend for doing that.
So this is a system I don't understand. So
why don't they just unlock them all?
They've made this really cool little unique space where all of the Epic Destiny people are. Like they're like and you got like Hearsome for the Fate Spinner, for Fate Singer, and like it's really cool. And there's kind of nothing to do in there.
Other than talk to people.
Other than talk to people, like, is it once per life to get your fate points?
I think it's once ever.
Well, that's almost worse. It's like this space is really cool, and I want it to like see use because it looks great. Like you go to the arcane one, this big shadow dragon flying behind the platform, and like all these rooms are really on flavor, and it's great. It's so cool, and then you have nothing to do in there.
Why did we spend this much effort in making these really cool places?
Yeah, please put stuff there, please. That's my feedback on this one.
I mean, if along those lines, I would say Hall of Heroes? Question mark? Like,
Yeah.
I would like to see them use the Hall of Heroes better.
Yeah, you know that second room where slavers used to be and now isn't?
Yeah,
This whole thing could be in there.
yeah, I agree. That would
It would be cool.
work for sure.
And instead of having them instanced, you could have them as alcoves, and it would be cool. You
Yeah,
run around.
yes, all of that. The
I know
arrow.
that I know that we're way too close to going to live, and that's never going to happen. But that's my personal thoughts.
It's valid feedback. I mean, hey, it looks great.
It's
It's
so
just
cool. I want to see it, more of the time.
yeah, yes. It almost feels like that would be a better redesign of the Hall of Heroes because it looks way
Yeah.
cooler than the Hall of Heroes. But then, like the Hall of Heroes is so underutilized.
I think that the issue with the Hall of Heroes is that they made it so big.
Well, they didn't put anything in
And,
it,
and
and
then
what they
there's
had,
nothing.
they took
Yeah, there's
out.
nothing in it. And they're like on one end, you've got your banker, and then you have to like go to the other end to go to the Reaper vendors. Like you've got this whole everything's over in a corner instead of feeling full. And I want
There's
that
not enough
space to
areas.
feel full. Like there could be more vendors. You should have like arcane vendors and stuff dotted
Component
through it.
vendors.
Like yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Potion vendors
yeah,
and everything. Like you could have everything that you need
barter
to
people.
before you go questing could be in the Hall of
Mm-hmm.
Heroes, and it would make it seem full and alive. And I find
There's
the Hall of Heroes really annoying
yes.
for this.
Uh,
Yeah,
the arrow for Horizon Walker's mark target skill should now properly appear on orc and half orc enemies.
I didn't realize this was an issue.
Uh,
Because I'm
yeah,
using
me
one.
neither. Um,
Sometimes stuff comes up in notes, and I don't know that it was broken until I see that it's been fixed.
yes. You're new here. I have that all the time. Pressing loot all in a chest will now also loot bound but unpassable ingredients such as threads of fate and raid runes without requiring you to loot them on their own individually.
So good.
And there was much rejoicing.
So good.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
now you can just press B if you haven't changed your default keys, and everything enters your inventory.
B does that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, B is a loot all button,
Ah, cool.
which I only found out when I was adding hotkeys to all of my hotbars, and then I like just scrolled past it. I was like, oh, there's a button for that.
yeah, right. I just learned it now. All right, let's talk about the feats. Some feat changes. The first one, and this is significant. The epic power feat, which is auto granted at every level, will now give +6 melee power and +6 range power, which is double what it was in the first preview. It was 3 and 3.
So in the first preview, a lot of the melee power that you had access to was coming from the cores, and what this meant was coming from the cores in the Epic Destinies, and what this meant was that there was 90 available melee power across melee trees that you had to take, or you were losing a huge chunk of DPS. And what they've done here is they've made it way less punishing if you don't take all of those cores, which is great. This is a really good change from preview 1.
Which we should mention, you get less from the cores now. They dropped the cores
Yes.
as well.
Yes, the cores are respectively dropped.
I think it's
I
6 per level. There's 10, so you're getting 60 melee power from your levels before it was 30, and then I think you're getting 45. Is that right? I think they dropped the range power by more too. I don't remember off the top of my head. But
They actually didn't drop the range power on the whole by as much, which I think is a mistake. I think that their range power probably needs to come down a little bit more to sit nicely in balance with melee.
right. Epic Reputation now grants +5 to its listed skills instead of +3. I think this is kind of a reaction to the hey, you're taking away the skill feats that hey, we actually want like the intimidate one. Like putting some of it back in here.
This is good. I think I sort of have two minds of this, where like I want skills. I want the skills that people passively have to be lowered on the whole, so that speccing into a skill is more of a thing.
Sure.
Like uh, if you need to intimidate something, you should have to spec into that a little bit, depending on what you're trying to intimidate.
At
And
least
you
for
do,
some things,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like if it's a raid boss, just because it's normal doesn't mean you shouldn't have to have spent time making your intimidate higher. you know,
Yeah, no, that's fair. I do really like that this is, hey, instead of it being one skill, you get a lot of skills. So,
yeah,
hey, we've got a couple of new feats. Expanded clip, which requires 12 artificer and level 21. Your repeating
this,
crossbows have one extra shot in their clips. That means it
uh,
shoots 4 times.
yeah, you get
Okay.
four, so you go like plink, 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 and an additional plink before you reload, which is fantastic because like this is inclusive of your double shot, which I don't think is being scaled down. There's no mention of your double shot being scaled down more because like if you weren't aware, like repeaters have lower double shot than bows.
I would assume that it would be at the same double shot
Yeah,
because you're
yeah,
repeating crossbows, whatever
yeah.
the
So you
scaled
get
double
double
shot
shot
is.
at
But
like a third or whatever. That's
sure.
probably not right. I don't play repeater builds because they're a bit lame. But this change makes them kind of interesting and cool. You get an extra proc chance,
Hmm.
so I reckon like proc builds are gonna like repeaters much more now. A super cool change. Super cool, exciting, and artificers needed love, and this requires 12 artificers. So
Yes,
this
it does.
is really, you know, this is a give them the specialty that they deserve, and I'm a big fan.
I do. I'm not sure how to make it work, but I do kind of wish that mechanic rogues could maybe get this as well. But I guess you could get.
Yeah,
I mean, you could
like
think.
maybe like a core that says like for the purposes of feat prerequisites, you're considered a
I don't think we're
art
ever
level
going to
12
see
artifact or something.
feats be a prerequisite of enhancements because you can change enhancements and.
Yes, of
But
course, but you know what I'm trying to say
yeah,
though, like um, because I agree with you. Like mechanic rogue kind of left out to left out to dry, but they get great crossbows. That's kind of their thing. You
that's
know?
true. They also get improved sneak attack damage. So
Yeah,
epic barbarian damage reduction. Is another new feat, 12 barbarian, level 21. Your barbarian damage reduction is increased by 1%. You also gain +5 PRR and MRR. Um, cool. I
I don't
Are
think
we
that
gonna
this
get
was
one for
something.
every class? That would be kind of cool.
Maybe
An epic
I don't
feat.
think that this is something that barbarians needed, but it's also not bad. Right? It's like
Yeah,
this seems like one of the it's the kind of thing like you have a spare feat, maybe you're not taking spring attack. By the way, everyone should take spring attack. They're using melee weapons. Just a little plug for spring attack there. This is cool. I don't have a problem with it, but it's also like kind of a meh feat to me.
I'm really
I don't know.
kind of curious if they're gonna. I would actually kind of like to see a feat for each class. 12 levels of the class and level 21.
Hmm.
That's kind of intriguing to me. We might see that.
That'd be rad.
Yeah.
That could be cool. I think that that's a much more powerful paradigm for classes that get lots of feats like wizard and fighter. But
You know what's not on this list though? Making bulwark of defense a better feat.
but they did make Bulwark of Defense a better feat.
No, they didn't.
They sort of did by
They
proxy.
they put it in an epic destiny.
Yeah, that's making it a better feat. It's
No,
fine.
it's still a lousy feat. Look,
It's
if
now it
if
is
you
now objectively better than epic damage reduction
okay,
if you're playing a tank,
still a
which
lame
is
feat.
like fair enough. You're entitled to your opinion. I think it's sort of it's not an interesting feat, but with the epic destiny change, it makes you consider. I think that's one of the things that's cool with the epic destinies is they make you consider your feat choice
Hmm.
more. They make you consider your build choices more holistically, and that's cool.
Yep, I like the synergy ideas with feats and
Mm.
destinies for sure. Epic spell power. All of the types will provide 15% spell critical damage of the appropriate element type and plus 5% to all other spell critical damage. Great change.
So the thing about this feat change that I really like is that this was suggested on the Discord and has now been implemented here. And I think that that is a point of testament to the devs are really listening to the player base. And if you have feelings or thoughts about the changes, you should get on the forums and on the Discord and make your views heard so that the devs have the feedback to work with.
But also
'Cause
don't
otherwise
if
it'd
they
be
don't
nice
listen to your specific feedback and do what you want, it doesn't mean they're not listening.
Yeah, it just means your idea didn't appeal to them.
There is a new. So they're taking what was perfect 2-weapon fighting and making it a different feat, double strike, which just gives you plus 5 double strike. There is also going to be a new perfect 2-weapon fighting feat, which requires 2-weapon fighting. I assume that means the feats.
Yeah.
Just 2-weapon fighting, or would be the greater 2-weapon fighting?
I think it just requires 2-weapon fighting by the looks
Cool.
of things. This is too strong.
Well, it's your offhand attacks now double strike at 65% of the rate of your main hand versus the base 50%. So you get an extra 15% double strike with your offhand weapon.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with the new destinies, it's quite. So previously, this kind of thing wouldn't have been too strong across builds, except for daggers, that's worse for build design. So they've made an improvement where it's easier to get offhand strike chance to 100%, right? Where then this is very, very, very powerful. And it's like it's quite hard to explain how strong this is.
But you wouldn't think for there should being a 15% increase
for your offhand, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like it's quite specific. It's like 1/4 of your attacks.
Not even. It's less than a fifth, actually.
Well, this is a feat that only applies to 1/4 of your
Oh,
attacks. Is what I
sure.
mean.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but with all of the proc effects and stuff that we have now, this is probably the strongest feat in the new feat list, I would say.
Okay. Even better than
Except
the new feat Crush Weakness, level 25, 15% damage versus the Helpless.
yes. Although Crush Weakness is cool. I think that so Crush Weakness is cool because Helpless Damage is cool. Helpless Damage feels awesome and doesn't matter at all.
Well, let's clarify that a
Which is-
little bit because you're coming from a
okay.
perspective of helpless
Okay.
damage versus raid bosses is
Yeah. So
useless.
if you're smashing through content, am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Mildly.
Okay. I'll try to refrain. Crush Weakness is like any helpless damage is awesome if you're just like smashing through stuff because you dire charge in or you stunning blow stuff and then you smash them. That's great. So it feels good because your numbers get really big and you're like, yeah, I do heaps of damage. But also like stuff like trash dies really fast anyway.
Right.
So it kind of doesn't matter. This is sort of a superfluous feat while simultaneously feeling awesome. And I think that's kind of great design.
It kind of is, right?
Yeah.
Who hasn't played D&D? Heck, I did this last Sunday. You played Oh, well, I killed it. Well, I rolled a 1 on my damage, and I have an ability to re-roll it, so I know it's already dead, but I'm going to re-roll my damage, damn it.
Yeah,
It feels better.
and also like you're gonna if you're one-shotting something, but if you're barely one-shotting it compared to you hit it for 70k, it feels cooler to see the bigger number, and we like big numbers, and it's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
But this isn't gonna help you kill raid bosses any faster,
well,
except with
hold that thought. We'll get
yeah,
there. Maybe.
Except maybe.
And then the legendary feats, all of the scions now do. So they already were plus 25% of their relevant spell critical damage. They're also going to do 10% spell critical damage for other elements. again, I think that's a great change to not
Yes.
pigeonhole you into one element quite as much.
Yes.
Like it.
I have talked about this a bit on the DDO Discord. I don't like immunity strips unless they're annoying and difficult to apply. Because being a sorcerer, chucking a meteor swarm and then just immediately following it up with another meteor swarm is kind of boring gameplay.
Right.
So I think having the support there to use other elements is really cool and is a step in the right direction for reducing how ubiquitous those immunity strips need to be for
It
your
is
for your
really convenient to be able to strip immunities, but yes, it is. You know what? I
like
don't like this idea, but what they probably should do is instead of it being an immunity, just commit immunity strip. It's you can do 50% damage, not full damage, or something like that.
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, the immunity strips are fine when they're annoying. So, like, the tier 5 in the Sorcerer Savant trees is a single target. It's like once every 12 seconds that you can apply or something.
Right.
Like, it's annoying. So, you're only going to cast that on the boss that's immune to your thing. You're not going to cast that on, like, some random devil that's immune to fire, right? With the devils, you're going to handle them with your lightning spells or your cold spells or something. And that's forcing you to, like, think about your spell
Diversify.
book. Yeah, diversify your gear, have different stuff, and let you, like, and make you consider the content that you're running. Where if you're just doing R1 on the sorcerer, uh, you just go kill everything,
I mean, I do like
and
just
that
going and killing everything, but yeah,
yeah,
I
like
hear what you're saying.
yeah.
All right.
Um, cool.
Ready to talk
You
about
wanna move on?
destinies?
Yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the 9 that we saw in preview 1, and we're just gonna highlight the changes, but also we've got Master Builder Viamel here, so he'll kind of give us an idea of. We'll kind of talk a little bit about where these trees are right now and what seems good about them, like what kind of build types you might be thinking about using these
Yeah.
trees is kind of I think where we're gonna try to
I
land some of
almost
that.
think it's best to sort of start there and then talk about some of the specifics that support those
Right.
things. So um,
Well, let's talk about
we'll start.
we'll do new stuff and then talk about like that stuff as a whole,
Sure.
whatever you want to
Okay.
do. So we'll start with Divine Crusader, which got a new epic moment, which is Beckon Divinity. Divine power infuses you and your party members, granting them divinity for 30 seconds. This blessing is so strong that any allies who are dead are raised from it to their maximum hit points. Woohoo. Divinity, while you are. And understand, like, this is granting everyone in your party this, as far as I
Yeah.
understand, is Divinity. When you are struck by any type of damage, you are healed for 46 positive healing, or repair if you're a warforged, or negative if you're undead. Furthermore, for the first 10 seconds, you are immune to all forms of crowd control. The resurrection portion of this ability may only affect you once per rest. Um, I am a little sad that it's going to make my healing repair if I'm a warforged, because my positive heal amp is actually better than my repair amp, even as a
Same. I had like
warforged,
293 hamp on my Blade Forge that
right?
I was playing recently, and I had like maybe 90 repair amp.
But also understand that 4d6 positive healing, not not a lot.
Not a lot. I'm
Not
really
very
hoping
high.
that this doesn't scale down with Reaper. I really hope this is considered coming from an external source. Um,
Uh, maybe, but what if it's coming? Here's the thing: if it's coming from an external source, it's probably not gonna have any spell power behind it either.
yeah.
So it
So that component of this effect, I'm not super jazzed
right.
about. The the crowd control immunity is interesting. I think for raids like Dryad,
Hmm?
where there are casters that are just a nuisance and they try and stun you all the time, and maybe your Dryads become a mess.
Yep.
This is like not bad. And we've seen we've seen Artificer come in pretty clutch with its mass force fields. And I think when we're doing push raids, and I can see this having a similar effect. But I think that the part that we really need to talk about with this epic moment is the fact that if you completely wipe your raid, you can raise the entire party all at once.
Yep. That's pretty beefy.
Yeah, this is one I didn't get to play test on Lamania.
Couldn't get all your party
So I
members
don't
dead.
so I don't know what the casting time is like. I'm hoping it's pretty quick because if it's a long casting time that slows down your run speed, it's almost useless because you're gonna
Right.
gibbers to get yourself alive, and then you're gonna try and raise all the party, and the raid boss is gonna come over and smack you
Right.
before you've raised anyone.
Well, I mean, what you do then is, you have someone else raise, they get smacked, and while they're getting smacked, you raise the rest of the group. But yes,
Yeah, yeah. So which makes it feel considerably less epic, I think.
I do. I do kind of wish you could use it on yourself. You could use it when you're dead. That's the one
Yeah,
thing, because as we were talking about when we get to Unyielding Sentinel, Reborn in Light is now gone. You cannot raise yourself from the dead with any epic destiny.
yeah.
So I think,
Having it be a self raise would be
yeah.
cool, especially if that was also on the single charge.
Well, like the raise everybody. So here's the Reborn in Light didn't have the you can only be affected by this once. I don't think it did. It was just a 10-minute cooldown.
Yeah.
This has that resurrection once, so I think it's actually completely not unbalanced to have it be you can use this while you're dead and raise the whole party.
I think my problem with this with this epic moment is that this is not a proactive ability. The component that applies when everyone's alive still is not proactive, and it's not particularly interesting. It's a very cool pick if you're trying to do raids where it's a little bit beyond what your team can comfortably do. Um, whether you're trying to push raids on high skulls or just you're trying to like do, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're just trying to boost the difficulty, maybe get some more runes out of your casual rating. Um, I think that like that save the party aspect is great, but there's no proactive thing, and like I would want to see some component of like your party are like near invincible if they're already alive when I hit
Sure.
this. Like it doesn't have to really be invincible, but I'm like something on the scale of like that the artificer for AoE force field or Fate Arc Illusionist has that masterful
Displace.
displacement.
Right.
Yeah, and those abilities come in really clutch, and they're really cool because they're super skill rewarding. Like they really reward people who pay attention to what's going on and paying attention to what the other members of their team are doing, and that's really really cool. That's fun team play, and I like abilities like that.
You know what it should do is whether you're dead or alive, you're healed to maximum hit points. Right at
Yeah,
the start.
everyone should definitely come up to maximum HP regardless.
I think that would kind of close the loop on what you're saying.
Yeah, we need a proactive thing, and so even if it's like, okay, our healer just died, I think
Mhm.
the other thing is that this needs to bypass the resurrection timers. If
Which
this
it probably
bypassed
doesn't.
resurrection timers, it would be fine, and it
Yeah,
probably doesn't.
probably not.
If it bypasses res timers, it's suddenly really cool because it means you
Yep.
don't have to wipe for it to be valuable. Like if your healers go down,
Right.
you have your guy, he just gets them up, and they're just back up, and you can work with that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. And again, the resurrection is only once per rest, so I think that closes a lot of this is really game breaking
mhm.
to this could save a raid that's close that you almost got it, but something went sideways and it's getting out of hand kind of thing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this does really feel like a raid centric ability, though. This doesn't seem like it has a lot of utility for questing play.
It's true.
So our guys really like it because we do a lot of raiding,
Yep.
but
Let's talk
but
about
this
the
doesn't.
tree
Yeah,
bigger picture. What do you like
Okay.
about it? What are you thinking?
Well, the rest of the tree is one of the coolest trees for melee because it's a super support focused tree, and you're not lacking on the DPS, so your DPS is still going to be super solid. Uh, I really like the crusade on smite ability, so you're constantly like lifting up your team and making everyone else stronger. So you're gonna, if you see someone who's playing in this destiny in your party, you're happy to have them there. So same as like having a bard in your party, right? You're happy to get songs. Um, I
Right.
think you're gonna be really keen to have a divine crusader in your party, making everyone more powerful. They're making the healers job a little bit easier because they've got a couple of like AOE heals that they just put down for free that aren't super strong, but also they're not nothing. Um, and like so the tree as a whole, I sort of see as like a support melee DPS tree that really fits the where Paladin is sort of meant to land on flavor.
It
I think
really
it's
does
really
the
cool.
sword and board. It really amplifies the sword and board well too,
Yes.
which I like. Um, not because I'm a
Yes.
huge sword and board nerd, but I do like that. I do like the idea that Destinies kind of amplify a particular build type. Like if you have a particular build archetype, different Destinies are kind of more amplifying for that.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's
So
super cool. And so you can either like choose to really go in the direction of your build type and really make that as strong in that one direction as you want, or you can diversify and get really different stuff from your destiny than your build gives you, and that you have sort of both options depending on what you're playing. I
but
think
even
it's really
then,
cool.
it's not like it doesn't feel like if you're not sword and board that this is a useless tree.
No,
I think they did a good job with that balance.
I probably wouldn't play this tree in sword and board. I'd probably use it, you know, single weapon fighting or
Hmm.
token fighting, other stuff. Um, but yeah, you're definitely not punished for not going the way that the tree wants you to go, which I think is good.
All right, should we move on to Draconic Incarnation?
Absolutely.
All right, so this one actually got a lot of changes. So
Yes.
we'll try to go over them. The first one is the mantle. Spells of the chosen element now have a 25% chance to deal the bonus damage. The cooldown has a it now has a cooldown of 5 seconds. So what is changing here is this used to be 3 tiers. It's now 1 tier, and at the higher level, and they have the cooldown.
Hmm.
So solid win here. Um, it actually brings up a question later because uh, one of the new trees has a mantle that has, I think Exalted Angel still has a mantle that is 3 tiers, and I think that's the only mantle that's still 3 tiers. So probably we'll see that change.
The mantles, there's also a mantle upgrade for Shadow Dancer that's kind of expensive. Um,
Sure.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so the mantles feel like they're very core to the tree, and you shouldn't have it be paying to upgrade them
Shouldn't be
within the same
expensive to
enhancements.
at least have
Yeah,
it. Yeah, I
'cause
agree.
it's meant to give you the flavor of the tree. I feel like that's where the mantles really come in. It's like this gives you the main flavor of the tree, and then everything else is sort of like gravy that works around it. Um, and
Let's
some of them
see.
are more or less interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, the Divine Crusader first one is the first tier was a little meh, but it has uses, but it's a little meh. All right. Tier 3, Inevitable. When you're attuned the Arcane Destiny Mantle procs, it now applies a damage over time effect that deals its full damage 3 additional times after application, for a total of 4 ticks of damage beyond the first application of damage. That's your Mantle damage that we just talked about. Cool.
This is great.
I
This is
love
great.
this.
This is giving casters more damage over time effects. Also, be like the red dragon scale armor is going to be applying its dot and proc effects damage on spellcast as well, and giving casters those options means that their single target damage comes up. It's still going to be behind melee. It's actually still going to be behind range. That's good. That's where it should be. you're going to be better at clearing packs than single target clearers. This is, but you're not going to get up to a boss and go, it's going to cost like half my spell bar to kill this one boss.
Yeah, damage
Because
over time that is free and you don't have to do anything for.
yeah,
That's
it's
nice.
good.
Yeah.
It means also that you when you get to a boss, you can roll back to just your cheap SLAs, and these proc effects are gonna do a lot of the work for you. And like it might take you a bit longer, but that's okay because you actually have real damage rolling in. So I really like this change, and I think that this whole tree really supports casters in a good way. Where the whole tree really feels like a step up from Draconic and on live.
Yeah. Uh, they moved Coalescence from tier 4 to tier 2. This is the bypass damage reduction with your spells. I'm assuming that's supposed to be energy resistance, not damage reduction. I'm a little confused by that.
I assume the same thing.
Um,
It's a little bit confusing.
yeah,
Rank 3 gets you a bit of spell power. That's the main
right.
reason you're going to take this, because mostly you're not super fussed about 15 more damage on your 6,000
Right.
damage spell, like.
Good point.
But
Tier 4 has a new meta magic. You can attunement. So this is fewer spell points for quicken and enlarge. You can choose one of those.
these are a little funny because there's actually quite a lot of them across the trees.
There are a lot of
And
them. They
you can
feel like
get
they need
your
to be
spells
anti-requisites.
really, really cheap. I don't really want them to be anti-requisite. I just want some of them to not be the same thing. A bunch of them to make it cheaper. I would be happy with one that makes your spell more expensive, but also more impactful. So
Sure.
like enhancing the actual meta magic for what it does, rather than just making it cheaper. Because
So instead,
there's a
make
lot of
intensify
discount
like
stuff.
10 more or like 15
Yeah,
more spell power for 10 more spell points or something like that, or 5 more spell points
yeah.
for
I mean, like
sure.
you can jangle the numbers, but that kind of thing.
I like that
Make
thinking.
enlarge. You know, extend your spells even further, because even with enlarge, you can't cast as far as a bow can shoot.
Hmm.
Um, so like stuff like that, where it
Not the
takes what the
same.
meta magic does and
I like it.
makes it better rather than just cheaper.
I like it.
Because there's a lot of discounts through here.
Let's see.
Not that we dislike cheaper spells.
Yeah. I think I saw someone managed to get like heal down to like 4 spell points or something silly like that.
We had it down to 0.
Oh, did you? Yikes.
Could have all of the heal spells down to 0. I think that was using a slightly bugged effect from Primal Avatar. But
Right.
yeah, on LAN, we had a screenshot of all of the spells costing 0 for like 25% uptime.
Yeah, that's probably not right.
That's
Uh,
probably not good.
there is now so Greater Dragon Breath is so this was the upgrade to the Epic Strike. There's now a multi-selector. Previously it just gave you the Energy Vortex. Now you get to choose between instead of this is a little weird. Instead of it being your Dragon Breath, it becomes the Vortex. Or you can
So
choose the Burst, or you can double your damage with your breath.
right, so this is gonna scale up the damage regardless, right? So if you choose Energy Burst, you're not losing damage by choosing Energy Burst instead
Oh,
of
right.
Dragon.
Sorry, I see that they all deal
They
double
all
damage, and then it's
Yeah.
changing
So
how it does it.
this just scales the dice up.
Right.
But this was a thing that players asked for, because a lot of people were sad to see Energy Burst go, because it's quite a nice little utility spell. You get surrounded, you clear everything. It's lovely. Um, I personally prefer Dragon Breath because I like aiming.
That's kind of where I was at.
but like people were asking for Energy Burst. Here it is. You got it back, and I think that's nice. This doesn't really negatively affect anyone. It just gives you choice based on how you like to play, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. I initially didn't see that it was dealing double damage. And then it's just changing which. So any way you go, it doubles your damage, and then you just get to pick Energy Vortex, Energy Burst, or Dragon Breath.
Yeah, so you're not making a min max decision. You're just making a style of play application decision, and that's really good.
We need more of
Uh,
those, frankly.
yes, yeah, this is really cool enhancement design. I really like it.
uh, Dragon speed. I think this is all. Yeah, these are all in tier 4. Dragon speed. While on your mantle, your spell cooldowns are reduced by 10%. You gain the mobile spellcasting feat, and you have a 30% enhancement bonus to movement speed.
Dragon speed is the best enhancement in the tree.
I don't.
Go
I'm not gonna
zoom,
fight you on it.
go zoom. Good. That's my take.
That's pretty damn good. Yeah,
This is really stat dense, and it's
yeah.
very like you take this, every time.
The epic moment was changed a little bit. So this is now its duration 30 seconds, cooldown 5 minutes. It doesn't increment up. You just get all of the effects at the same time. So you become immune to elemental damage of your bloodline. You get 100 DR, and your hit points begin to regenerate at a fast rate for the duration. Your spells gain a 50% cost reduction for the duration. Your spells have a chance to turn a non-boss enemy to gold permanently, adding to your horde with no save.
So we tested this, and the gold thing procs really often, and it's really funny.
And we're
Um,
still doing the thing of change a non-boss to something permanently.
it's
Like,
great.
I get
It's
that
so
it's
funny.
great, but this is at least the third time that I've seen this in a release note. And the previous 2 times it's changed, because if you turn all the respawning mobs that only respawn if you kill them to something that's
Yeah.
just
So this
like,
has
it
some
breaks
funny
things.
applications where stuff is meant to spawn in waves that you're meant to
Right.
kill, and instead you can just leave it crowd controlled. I don't really have a problem with that because you have to completely tech for it. Like, so you're making this choice, and you can only do it once every 5 minutes, and you have to make those procs go up. Admittedly, the proc chance seems to be very high, but you want it to be high because it feels good. Feels good to see
It's
the
the
things
point of the
go
epic
gold.
moment.
Right. Like the epic moments are entirely designed around making the players have a fun time, and I love that. That's super cool. That's
And
what we want,
the epic
and it's
moments,
funny.
just kind of across the board, this time feel a lot better.
Yes, they feel epic, and
Yes.
that's cool.
I also
My only
really
problem with this is
appreciate
I
that
want more
the
DR because I want to be like a real like I want to be a tough dragon and have that be like DR 100 in Reaper 10 is not very much.
that
Not that they need
DR
to
just
scale
needs
around
to be
Reaper 10, but
fixed.
just
DR just needs
like
to be fixed. DR does not work in a game of this magnitude. It needs to be DR just needs to be percent based. It
yeah.
just needs to be percent based
I
across
mean,
the
if
board.
this was gain 100 PRR, it would be really impactful for sorcerers because remember
Yes.
sorcerers are often running around in pajamas. So
I
yeah,
feel like
this it
most of
would
them are running
be
around with medium armor these days, but I
yeah,
take your
they
point.
are, but
Yeah, DR as a whole system needs to be reworked. But
yeah, but this epic moment is fun. My only problem with it when we're testing it on live is I want more animation. At the moment, you get some dragon wings for half a second that don't look pretty enough that you'd want them up the whole time, and I want like dragon styled Asmar wings uh, that stay with you for the entire epic moment, and then you have a nice visual cue that the epic moment's over as well.
that actually brings up something. We'll just kind of mention it here for global. There are a bunch of visual effects that they are planning on adding,
Yes.
but are
Yes.
not done yet.
Steel Star said in Discord yesterday, so like he's just chatting, so don't take this as an official announcement, but he said that a lot of this effects probably won't come in preview 3 and we'll probably only see them on preview sorry, when the thing goes live. Which is on one hand something to look forward to, and on the other hand, I want to see the visual effects. So
They can always change them later, but yeah. I also just say, like, one of the things that I really appreciated about this preview is the epic moment timing is much more consistent.
yes,
So
makes it much easier to compare them.
right, almost all of them are uptime of 30 seconds, cooldown 5 minutes. So
Yes,
which I really liked.
yeah, this is great.
Well, let's talk bigger picture with Draconic Incarnation, which may be my favorite tree.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's pretty cool.
I mean, I really
I
like
think,
leveling and doing lives as an alchemist because of the versatility and the boom.
yeah, I think you're gonna really like Primal Avatar.
Yeah.
Um, Primal Avatar is the most convoluted tree, so we'll get to it when we get to it.
That's a
We'll
great way
keep
of
going.
saying it.
We'll keep going through this list here, but yeah, Primal Avatar is very cool, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, this is. I mean, clearly this is DPS casting focused.
Yeah,
I this may be the simplest tree for people to transition into. Other than the fact that I think that I'm still hearing and seeing. I just saw today like a disconnect for people with I don't like I can't burst in breath as often. Like they're taking the burst out of the tree. Like okay, but it's back one. You can burst. You can't have multiple different versions of that of strike.
cooldown is
You just
also a
one.
lot better.
As I say, that's what I
Um,
was getting to. The cooldown is I think 15 seconds, right?
yeah,
And
which is great.
yeah, right
You can
now
use
you
that
can
nearly every pack, right?
yeah. Well, right now you have a uh, burst is 30 seconds, breath is 60 seconds,
Yeah,
and the vortex is 2 minutes.
yeah,
And so you get one vortex, two breaths, and four bursts in 2 minutes. Now you get 8 of one. So you get
yeah.
one more.
This is a really big DPS increase for
Mm-hmm.
Nukas. That doesn't come in the form of numbers get bigger, and I like that. I think
Well,
that's
the
a much
numbers do
better.
get bigger. They reduce the damage a little bit, but it now doubles after you take the
Right.
thing. So I think it actually ends up higher.
Yeah, but if you know what I mean, like, it's not just like the design isn't just inflate the numbers, and now it's more powerful. The consideration's been taken into account for you have to be able to cast your spells, and also, so this was a big thing is like your when you spend points on an ability, you want to use it.
Sure.
And this was an issue with like old many shot, and that's why they changed it. Was like you kind of don't get to use your ability, or like a lot of people would save many shot until the end boss, and then they're only using their ability once per quest. So this just increases how much you feel like you can use it, and
Yeah.
that's really important because now you feel like you're playing Draconic, and that's cool.
I think the thing that
As
people you're talking about like this makes you better without making numbers bigger.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
dragon
because you'll use
speed,
your abilities.
spell cooldowns are reduced by 10%.
Hmm.
You get to shoe materials in here. Um, I think there was isn't there something that like reduces your spell point cost? Maybe I'm thinking somewhere else.
There's the meta magics. So
Yeah, no, I think of a different tree. I think, but the damage over time procking off your stuff. I mean, there's a lot of really nice things in here that don't require a lot of action on your part.
yeah, but they're gonna make you feel like you're playing the archetype that you're there for. And
Right.
I think that is, broadly speaking, the thing that they've done the best with these trees. They much more feel like the archetype that you're in the tree for. Like if you consider Old Magister, it's the most boring tree. Um, because you just get DCs and a bit of and your spell cooldown reduction, and that's it. And the whole left side gets ignored because the reason that you're in Magister is because you need DCs,
Yeah, it's true.
that's not good design. So these new destinies are every single one is like this whole thing is a flavor packet, and it's going to make your build feel more the flavor of the thing that you've designed for, and that's really cool.
If you can get past the really cool thing that you lost that was propping up your build.
Well, yeah, but I think that that's quite easy. Once you
Well,
start looking at the trees.
I keep seeing
What,
people saying like I've got friends that are leaving the game over this, and because people can't get
and
past that. So
my response to that is that those people haven't read the notes.
I would
That they haven't actually looked at it.
I would actually say they haven't played it more than they haven't read it, because those are
Well,
two
that's
different
fair.
things.
That's totally fair.
Should we talk about Fury of the Wild?
Yep.
So this one did not get changed much. The big thing here is the epic moment. So Unbridled Fury, which is the epic moment, was upgraded with a pulsing adrenaline dodge reset to leveler every 5 seconds, and removed the odd buff to physics ability scores. I think that's supposed to be
So
physical ability scores.
yeah, it is. There's quite a few typos in that thread, but that's fine. So I don't know if you looked at preview one, but
We
Unbridled
did.
Fury was just a massive defense increase,
Yep.
which you kind of didn't need. Um, and so the reset timer for leveler is really cool because this is Fury of the Wild's answer to you don't have dire charge on every melee.
Right.
Um,
Which is
so
a
now
great
you've
thing
got
to have in the tree, just in general. Love that. There's a different.
yes,
You
yes,
don't.
and all of the
Everyone doesn't
all
have
of
dire charge. There's different options.
when you look at all of the heavy melee trees, so not the light melee trees like Shadow Dancer, but like the heavy melee trees, the guy I expect to go through the door first kind of thing, they've all got a really good CC option that isn't inherently dire charge,
Yes.
and that's fantastic. And leveler is really interesting because it's a line. I would like to see it maybe be widened into a cone, but um, it being a line gives you a very different application for how you get the most out of it compared to dire charge. So it will play and feel really different, and you will feel like you're having a very different game experience between playing between Fury and playing between Legendary Dreadnought.
We should mention that
Uh,
leveler does uh, double in both
yes,
length and width if you have adrenaline or quick active, which
yes.
is a fun. Let me rethink this. It's a cool thing. I'm not so sure how great I'm going to be at doing that
I think
because
it's
like
one of those things where it rewards.
active
It rewards.
gameplay.
Yeah, it rewards active gameplay, and it rewards you paying attention to how your build is meant, how
Yeah,
you're meant to get the most out of your build, and that is just a good thing.
it
Uh,
rewards a
Leveler also
style of
gives you a
play that
massive
I'm not
crit
great
threat
at.
increase. Leveler is an auto crit, more or less.
Yep.
Especially a lot of barbarians will be using Tale of Sulamades, and so this is just increasing your crit threat from two to 20.
Yeah, and
Obviously,
so
one is the
to be
best.
clear, when we talk about like, how they're changing the epic moment, um, for the next 30 seconds, you get 1,000 unconscious range,
Yep.
100% strike through, and every
Yep.
5 seconds you heal for 10% of your max hit points. Also, you get adrenaline and quick effects, and the cooldown for Great Leveler resets every five
Yes, and
seconds.
you gain adrenaline and quick effects, and that's an
Yeah,
important end because quick quick is actually really strong. It's in a sad place in this tree because all of the upgrades to quick are either ors with adrenaline,
well, I mean,
um,
the initial thing in and
including
of
the
itself
actual
is
effort strike,
yeah.
and then so you're probably not going to use it because adrenaline's really good.
Hmm?
And adrenaline, not only is it really good, but it's really fun. It's really fun to go wham and that thing's dead, or you watch a massive chunk of its HP go down. Um, so I think the epic moment giving you quick is kind of interesting because it's what it's going to mostly do is your single target damage goes up. So Unbridled Fury is great in a boss fight and is going to be awesome for clearing trash.
Yeah.
Single weapon fighters with heavy weapons are going to love Unbridled Fury because you hit an extra target. and 200 fighters also, like, obviously you get an extra target. It's great. So this is just fun, and it makes like this has a really different application to like Action Hero, which is the legendary dreadnought thing,
Hmm.
where you're mostly going to use that against a boss, right?
I
Mostly it's for
right.
kill the thing with huge HP, whereas this is like our tank has made a huge mess because they're running all over the place, and I have to clean it up, and you have a really good tool for cleaning it up, and that's great.
It's the anti-snow effect.
Yeah. Yeah, when Snow's on a monk tank and it's running around the quest at light speed,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can clean everything up.
Of all of the Epic Destiny changes, I think this one is probably the biggest boost that we got, and that's
Yeah,
kind of saying something. Um, but
my
yeah.
my only qualm with the Fury of the Wild Tree is that it's quite expensive. A lot of the abilities cost more than other like a lot of the tier 5 abilities are more expensive than other tier 5s in other trees,
Mm.
which means it's harder to spec into a few things. You kind of, if you want all of the tier 5s, you're spending 40 points in this tree out
Oh
of
boy.
your 60, give or take 6.
Yeah.
um,
I mean, the
and
trees and I don't mind that the trees are expensive. I didn't really check this,
I
but I
think
still don't
the
like the.
points the
I mean,
points are
they need
almost in
more
a perfect
equal,
spot.
but
Yeah, so the points are almost in a perfect spot where you can only spec heavily into one, and you're then either going to put a decent chunk into another one, or you're going to spread a little bit more evenly and just get a little bit of low hanging fruit from some other trees. So they're almost in a perfect spot, but you sort of want like an additional 6 points to where I can get one really cool thing from a second tree and then get a little bit of gravy from a third tree, because that's sort of how this is going to lay out. And you do want those core abilities because they're cool and quite powerful.
I still think that um the point spend requirements are too high.
Yes.
I
Yes, I think.
I would like to see like 5, 10, 15, 20 to get to the top tree, and cores be a little less expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna buy into that, which is unfortunate.
I don't think that they will, but I think we're also going to get more points to spend when level cap increases.
Okay,
So
but
some of
that
this
doesn't
needs to
change.
improve.
People keep bringing this up, but that doesn't change 20 to 30.
No, it doesn't.
That's the problem.
It it doesn't, and I think that we don't really have enough points to play with for how much the trees cost, but we're really, really close to being at the right amount. So
I think a lot of
it's
those point cost problems in playing in the trees would, like, you don't even increase the number of points we have. You just change how many points you need to spend to get to different
yes.
points in the tree, and you get so much more versatility without actually adding more points.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I agree with that.
anyways, back to Fury of the Wild. I really appreciate that the critical damage multiplier on 19 and 20s includes punch weapons. um, one
I
because
think that's a little nod to Razorclaw right there.
it's what?
It's a little nod to Razorclaw Shifter right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it recognizes that I mean that archetype, but also just like monks can go into this if they want to. Uh, I'm also curious about the punch weapons. Does that mean we're getting more than just hand wrap options?
I
Question
would
mark.
love like some like knuckle dusters or something. It'd be great.
Yeah, right. Like just this. I don't know what that
Especially
would be,
because so
but
my biggest gripe with Monk is that I love cosmetics, and all of my friends love cosmetics, and we want to look cool, okay? Because we've got all the stuff in the game, and we want to
yeah,
look cool.
yeah, I agree.
So punch weapons that aren't just invisible hand wraps would be awesome.
Or at bare
Like,
minimum, more glowing fist options.
yeah, I would definitely want more glowing fist options, but I also want like
Yeah.
other MMOs have their monk classes with like silly hand claw things that I think are ridiculous, and like
Mhm.
they're completely ridiculous for like a real life thing, but we're not playing real life. It's a fantasy game, and I want dumb hand weapons on
Yeah,
my monk.
I agree.
Please and thank you.
Even if they like, I mean, it'd be super cool if you could change your damage type to piercing or flashing too.
Oh
Good
yeah,
feat.
absolutely. Yeah, you get a bit of like
Hmm.
build versatility,
That'd be
especially
cool.
to where they're not necessarily the same. Sorry, they're not necessarily different. Actually, different weapon types. They just have different damage types, and you have to like you have the opportunity to look through different weapons for your damage bypass. I think that's a good idea.
Right, here's my total tangent for the day. Have you seen
Hmm.
the movie The Gray?
I am familiar with the movie The Gray. I have not seen the movie The Gray.
Okay. Spoiler, but there's a point where Liam Neeson's character uh
Hmm.
breaks a shit ton of bottles and then like tapes them to his hands to go mano a mano with a wolf.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one scene I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That
Uh,
would be cool.
mhm,
Brawlers raps, but
mhm,
you know, but like you can see it.
mhm.
Be great.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, let's talk about Grandmaster of Flowers. Uh,
so first
which
of all, everything is nothing is back.
way to not bury the lead on that one. Yeah, everything, nothing is back. Which is I think the big thing. Um, and I like that. It's also I think better. It might be
Yeah,
well
you
because
get
it's
the
highest.
emptiness
Was it
buff.
highest ability score before modifier before?
No, I think it was wisdom, but I could check, but I refuse to right now.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, everything
Yeah,
is nothing is
so
back. It's
it's a little
paired
bit
with
more
the
build
elusive
versatile.
target feat part.
Yes. Yes. So it's um they've turned this into a really they've turned that feat into from a sort of like meh no one takes this to like a really good feat that you're because if you're playing monk you're taking everything as nothing you're not missing out on
Right.
this. It's so cool. it
It is.
it looks so cool. It's one of the coolest looking abilities in the game.
It's true. Yep.
And now you also get emptiness for a little bit of extra dodge. That's cool.
Well, and if you're taking not just dodge, but double elusive target,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
really good.
it's
Um,
fantastic.
and 50. Oh, it costs 50 key. I'm not.
Which is probably
Oh,
fine.
you are affected by emptiness for 5 minutes. I see what's going on. So you have to
Yeah.
use it to get emptiness rolling,
Hmm.
which is interesting. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, this is just like, you step into Grim and Barrett, you lead with everything as nothing, and now you have emptiness. That's
mhm.
cool. And then you use it again, maybe 2 or 3 times in the quest.
Yeah, the cooldown's 3 minutes, so you can keep it up pretty easily.
Yeah, 3 minutes I think is about right for everything is nothing. I wouldn't want to see it longer, and shorter would be completely OP. 3 minutes is where it's at. Is where it's at on live, I think. So this is fine. And
They also redid the Epic Destiny,
yeah.
and you might have to boil this down for us a little bit here. Split the
Okay.
soul. For 30 seconds, your soul is split, and a fragment of it manifests beside you as a combatant. Side note, because I think you tested this. Did you actually get like a second you?
I did not. Uh,
Damn, that would be
I
sick.
did not test this.
Oh, you didn't test it.
Which we wanted to, but
Ran out of time.
the morning we were gonna do it, like my morning. I sat down with my coffee. I loaded up Lamania. Lamania closed.
Yeah, there we go.
so so I had a better look at stuff on preview too, and then I'm working from the differences here mostly.
Your soul warrior provides the following benefits as a baseline. Dark. Your attacks may strike an additional target regardless of weapon type. And each attack has a 5% chance of banishing your enemies from the multiverse with no save. Wolf. Uh, Light. Your soul warrior also grants you 25% concealment, 25% incorporeality, and 25% dodge and maximum dodge, as your physical form is less present while you're in this state. If you follow a monk philosophy, your split soul will embody that choice more fully, doubling either the dark or the light portions and still granting you the baseline version of the other philosophy.
So this is really cool. The
Yep.
first part that's really cool is that um, everything is nothing and split the soul both reward your character design being built for the tree. That's cool. The other thing is that a lot of people have been complaining that there's no more meld in the game. I'm here to tell you that meld exists. It's right here. It's called Split the Soul. It's for light monks. If you're a light monk, and you chuck in yourself in water stance, and you use this ability, you have 95% dodge. Meld is here, and it's better because now you get incorporality and concealment to deal with those pesky 5% times where the doom hits you anyway. And they've given monks strike through. So your soul warrior is the dark component um
Really good.
is it's 100% strike through is
Yep.
how you should read this, but it lets you do that with two-weapon fighting weapons as well. So it's kind of dance of death, but a little bit weaker, but stronger in other ways, right? Um, super cool. Love this whole ability.
Well,
It's super
you haven't
flavorful,
even talked about the 5% bye bye effect.
which is just fun and on flavor because like monk is monk is not a DPS tree. Sorry, monk is not a DPS class. Really, it's a tech melee.
It's a
You're
Trixie
doing
class.
Yeah, monk is one of the hardest classes to play because you have to really learn what everything does. But once you like, it's very, very skill rewarding. Once you learn what
Right.
things do and you can make the most of them, you get so much out of it. Which is why also you'll see really good monks running around making monk look awesome, and then you say, "Hey, can I have your build?" And then you go, "Why is nothing working for me? They looked so good, and I have all the same stats, and I'm just not getting the same bang for my buck."
Right.
Um, So monk is a little bit like that, which is honestly fine. I don't think all classes need to be plug and play. Um,
I mean,
but
that's
but
always what
this
Monk was kind of billed as with the
exactly.
finishers and stuff too. So
Yeah, and so it's super on flavor for that whole thing. And
Alchemist is the same way, right? Like it's like they have mechanics that if you utilize the class mechanics really
yeah, the
well, you'll
reactions.
have a much better character.
Yeah, yeah. It just rewards you for playing better. It doesn't really punish you for playing without
Right.
all of that stuff, um, which is cool. Um, yeah, Grandmaster Flowers is super fun. Um, is it the best tree? That's really situational,
It
but
depends on what you're going for.
totally depends on what you're going for. And I think people are going to have a lot of fun with Monk. I think I would also like to point out that even in Update 50, Monks are pretty viable if you play them as a sort of tech melee rather than as a DPS. Um, but they have
Yeah.
really cool abilities through the Grandmaster tree. So it's not, we've just talked about the epic moments, but also uh, the like Drifting Lotus gives you um, Drifting Lotus is basically your dire charge for this tree, right?
Right.
This is your use it all the time uh, AOE crowd control ability that works off your stuns, and all of its DCs are the same as dire charge right now. So they're stun DC 20, the highest ability score mod, stunning bonus. It's a short stun, but and this is super cool. It scales with monk levels. Sorry, well, it scales with monk forms. So either if you're a splash monk and you're trying to do like a Kensai melee thing, sorry, a Kensai monk thing, then you take those feats, you can add up to 2 seconds to the stun. So you can have that last 4 seconds, and 4 seconds is a really really long time. When you also remember that everyone's getting helpless damage from all these trees.
Right. The one
Yeah,
thing about this tree that I'm still pretty low on is the mantle. The mantle is if you're already a monk, the mantle just doesn't feel very good to me. I haven't played it a lot, but it just doesn't. Most of what it does, you already get. So,
yeah. So one thing to be aware of is monk movement speed is not an action boost. It's not action boost typed.
right.
So you're getting 15% movement speed, which is pretty
And it's
significant.
already fast. Like, monk is already fast. So it's.
But because you're a tech melee and you're single target, going faster
Sure.
is only a good thing because you want to be able to get around to like when you run up on a group and maybe your AoE CC doesn't work super
Hmm.
well, and now that the archers split off and the casters are in funny spots, the monk deals with those guys, and
Right.
the faster they are, the better they deal with them. And so
Yeah.
abundance staff helps that. This mantle helps that. And so I see this like movement speed is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's nice when you have to go for a long run and you have a bit more movement speed, but also it's one of those things that is a hidden DPS increase. So like I
Sure.
would almost consider movement speed a 1-to-1 DPS increase through a quest by percent of movement speed to DPS.
I'll give you that. My
um,
kind of thought and hope with the mana was that they'd take some of the stuff out and spread it out, like the tumble through enemies and the immune to slippery surfaces and knockdown. I'd kind of like them to break that into the higher parts, and then in the lower part, uh, give like a small upgrade to your stance. So like if you are a monk, if you already have like an
mm,
ocean fire or earth stance, have something in the low level mantle that just like gives you a fifth tier, or just it like increases it a little bit, not a lot, but just increases it based on which one you're in. So that if
yeah,
you're already a monk, you're getting something more monkey. That
yeah,
was kind of my thought.
I agree, and I think like probably if you're already a monk, you're gonna use the Shadow Dancer mantle. You're not really gonna focus on the Grandmaster mantle, except for
Right.
wanting a little bit of extra movement speed. Um, but you do get an extra weapon dice later in the tree, and you do get a bit of helpless damage later in the tree. So these things are fine.
But the
Um,
thing with the helpless damage though is pretty much all of the melee mantles get that helpless damage.
yeah,
So you
it's
can
just
get a
that it's
different
more
mantle.
impactful for monk than it is for other melees because your DPS
True.
is lower and your tools to stun stuff
Yeah,
is
and you
more
stun a lot of stuff.
expensive. You stun basically anything you're attacking is going to be stunned,
Right.
um, and your DPS needs all the help it can get because you're not like using a Kopesh or some other like a longsword or something. Like you're not using really high DPS weapons. Um, so it's more impactful here than it is on other melees, just because other melees can do the overwhelming DPS they need anyway.
Right.
That said, I do agree with you. The mental, especially the tier one mental, feels a little bit lackluster if your main thing is already being a monk.
It's interesting that you said Shadow Dancer because I was kind of looking at the legendary dreadnought mantle as an option. So
Yeah, the dreadnought one's cool. Um, I'm really worried about the dreadnought one. I haven't play tested it enough because it needs quite a bit of play testing. Um, I'm really worried that that mantle is going to cause copious amounts of lag.
yeah, that's fair.
The Divine Crusader aura that we have on live currently causes huge amounts of lag when you're in
Yeah.
busy quests, and this is the same thing. It literally does the same thing. It's more powerful, but it's
It
essentially
is
doing the same thing.
the same. Like it's this is well. Let's talk about legendary dreadnought. I think we're done with
Okay, sure.
Grandmaster, and legendary dreadnought's next on the list, anyways.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful. Okay, so the first part
anyway,
is that the mantle
yeah,
terror.
which
As a
did
push
change.
raider, as a push raider, I absolutely love this mantle
Hmm?
for that context because reducing the amount of damage the bosses do really matters when the boss can one hit the best tanks in the game.
Yeah, 15 melee power, range power. Let's talk about the changes real quick here about the mantle.
Sure.
Um, it's changed to every 6 seconds, while active, nearby enemies gain 5 stacks of terror. So what's important to know about this is it has twice the proc time. It was 3 seconds. This may actually be a performance thing, too.
Yeah,
To your point, but it does 5 times the stacks.
yeah,
So you will do a lot more stacking.
yeah. So this is good. This is something like I think this sort of comes under the same thing I was talking about earlier with the Dragon Breath, where it's about this is a change that helps you feel like the thing you spent your points on is doing something,
Hmm.
right? If five is quite impactful, um, long like most raid bosses, like you're gonna have you you have a good chance that all of your stacks are gonna go up. It's what? Yeah, does it cap at 15, I think?
Yeah.
Right. So less than 20 seconds, you're gonna have all your stacks up, making the full impact of your mantle known. And that's from a player experience, that's really good. Um
Yeah.
Dread mantle's weird though, and I'm scared about the damage in the tier 3 that gives you
Six
d6
1
main
d six
damage per
damage per
terror.
stack.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not that much damage. Like, it's 15d6, and there's no indication that it scales with anything. So it's not that much damage in elite or normal, and then Reaper scaling probably takes this down to next to negligible. One thing it does do though is it is an aura effect that is doing damage, so it is gonna help you pull aggro of stuff. So if you're playing heavy melee where you're trying to get stuff to come at you, this will help. Um, if you don't want stuff attacking you, don't take the enhancement that does damage to everything.
Yeah. Yep. You're not wrong.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. I like that it gives you a weapon dice when you action boost. That's a carryover from the original tree. Um,
So here's my thing with that though.
that's cool.
It's a nice flavor.
Mhm.
The monk one, the monk mantle just gives you +1 W, and it's in the
Right,
same spot in the tree. Why does this one require you to have an action boost going?
because this mantle is stronger.
Okay, but that's a problem with the monk mantle, not this big.
I don't know. I think like it helps you it helps you on balance.
Just seems
Like
weird to me.
I agree that it's a little weird. I sort of feel like it should give you a weapon dice and then it gives you an extra weapon dice when the action boost is active,
Yeah.
because that would be on flavor, but also giving people weapon dice here and there um, is quite a dangerous thing. I think a lot of people underestimate how powerful a weapon dice is, and then when you run the math on it with the crit profile and the melee power, they start to look really scary.
Big numbers.
Um, yeah, uh, barbarian wolves get a lot of damage because I'm barbarian, but like the frenzy berserker just gives you a bunch of extra weapon dice. You get like 3 extra weapon dice,
Yep.
and then you apply that to a wolf attack rate, and it's absolutely savage. um, so
Yeah. We'll catch the other changes in here in Dreadnought
sure,
before we forget about them. Tier
yep.
2, there's a ghost touch.
I
You're
hate this. This is upsetting. It was a cool thing, and now it's ghost touch, which everyone has anyway. And
What was it before? I don't remember.
I think it was like I can't even remember. Let me open up the thing. I'm gonna have to look at preview one notes as well.
While you're looking at that, so the ghost touch tier 2 gives you ghost touch with your melee and ranged weapons. Tier 3, epic power and precision. So when you have power attack active, you gain +6 critical hit damage before multipliers. When you have precision active, you get +6 to confirm your critical
Uh,
hits.
so it was improved power attack. It was just giving you more damage, which
Oh,
is
okay.
like not super flavorful. Maybe Ghost Touch is more interesting, but also Ghost Touch doesn't make sense as a legendary Dreadnought thing because Dreadnought's like the fighter epic destiny, and fighters aren't super well known for their ability to combat ghosts.
Right. I mean, that's
So
that's fair.
it, it's like it's a little left of field. It's a little weak, and it's like if you want this to be a thing, just make it part of the mantle or something. I don't know,
Uh huh.
this is something where it's like if this is in the tree, I want it for free, or take it out of the tree and don't make me think that I get ghost touch in this tree. Um, I'm mad about it.
It really should be in Shadow Dancer, right?
It
Like,
should be. I mean, Shadow Dancer gets it anyway because you turn into a shadow.
uh,
Um,
yeah, but that's where
but
like right now, that's where Grim Precision, or no, maybe not. Oh no, it wasn't Monk. I think Monk got it. I don't know. One of the other trees got it, but it wasn't Dreadnought. Um, the
it's just
the other things here, double
so
time.
this. Sorry,
Go ahead.
no. we can move on. I'll we can move on.
Carry on, which is the action speed boost add-on to action boost, now doubled in time.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it just means that it has a one-to-one with your actual action boost, and
right,
this is good. This is just better. It makes it not feel bad to use melee power boost. Um,
and
yeah,
it's in
good.
addition to, right, so you can
Yeah, so you can use melee power boost and use double time. Um, sorry, you can and use carry on.
right,
And that'll happen at the same time. For what it's worth, haste boost is still more damage. Because haste boost is a one-to-one increase to your damage by percent. Like 1% attack speed is 1% more DPS, where melee power, you have to look at your whole build to figure out if the melee power increase is how impactful the melee power increase is. Because you need to look at what that's actually scaling, what percent of
right.
your total melee power is that melee power boost. So that's a bit of a tangent, but it's worth being aware that like haste boost is better, but this means that you're like most melees play with the prowess filigree set, right? So they want to be using action boosts to get that extra 50 melee power from prowess. And so this is just like, to me, the main thing that this does is it goes, your other action boosts don't suck. So if you're not a fighter and you have just access to melee power boost, or maybe you only have access to sprint boost for some reason, like it's still a DPS increase to hit your action boosts, because it's like
Right,
in combat you should always be boosting. Your action boost should always be on cooldown.
unless you're out,
And
in which case there's solutions to that.
yeah,
Uh,
and this tree, yeah, absolutely, this tree gives us some solutions, which is great. And carry on to me is part of the solution to running out of action boost, because it means taking that second action boost from a different tree, like from a different enhancement tree,
right.
gives you more impact. So that's really where I see the value of this. I'll probably take it on a lot of my builds, not because I expect it to be in play most of the time, but because when I need it, it is lifting me up.
Well, if you, I mean, look, if you don't have, they took out the haste boost out of this tree,
Yeah,
so
and
if
they should have, because haste boost
right,
is really strong, and it should be expensive to get haste boost.
and this is expensive, but it also uses your other action boost. I like how
Yeah,
this plays, and it's a nice bone to. There's no more haste boost.
yeah.
So,
It's great. This is actually better than having haste boost in the tree from a game design perspective. Also, attack speed feels better. Like attack speed is one of the best feeling things to play with, because you're like, yeah, I attack really fast. Like my numbers go really quick, and it's great.
yeah.
Where like just melee power boost is like, oh, my numbers are a little bit bigger.
The last
So
thing was that there was a little bit of change to the epic moment action hero. It's
yeah,
now 40 seconds. I think it was 20.
it was 20. Now it's 40.
Yep.
You can uh,
The dodge
this
boost
epic.
also ignores dodge cap, and the DCs is a little bit higher.
Yeah, so the tactical DC action boost was 246. Now it's 369. So this is like an action boost that if you take it, like it's not. I wouldn't ignore it, because there's going to be some content where it's actually for some players it's going to be hard to hit the tactics they need. Especially if you're like a pure barbarian, you don't freely get a um, what's commonly referred to as like a trance ability, like know the angles or divine might. So like you have an
Right.
extra tool here, and sometimes this is good, and that's cool. That's good design. Um,
I mean, this is
it's
like
worth
a
noting.
catch-all for action boost, right? Like,
Yeah, it's nearly every action boost in the game.
pretty much.
um, which is fun. I think it's kind of like a fun way to go with it. Um, it's worth mentioning. So it's 40 seconds long now. It doesn't put your action boosts on cooldown, so you can hit haste boost, then use epic moment, then use haste boost for a solid 80 seconds of continuous haste boost,
Right.
which, as we've just mentioned, is really strong.
Yup. Yup.
Um, and the
Have
thing
fun.
that's cool about this is that it's actually not overpowered, especially when you compare it to the other Epi Destinies. Because we'll talk about Magus in a bit. Uh, But so that ability is making the Magus of the Eclipse epic moment is potentially making bosses helpless.
Yeah.
uh, Action hero doesn't scale that properly. Like that's not a strong interaction. If you know that that's going to be in your raid party, like maybe you have a fixed raid group, or you're doing push raids or something, or you just like you hang out with the same guys and you play with the same people all the time. This epic moment doesn't interact well with that epic moment. It's not bad because obviously you're doing more damage, but there are other things that are going to give you more bang for your buck in terms of the damage that you can squeeze into that tiny window.
The,
And
uh,
that's really cool because it means like build diversity and how you lay out a party becomes really interesting for fixed players, like for people who play with fixed groups, and that's awesome. I love support for that.
to that point, I'll say two things. One, I think it's going to be really interesting to see the calculus of what epic moments you want to take into a challenging content
Mhm.
situation, because
Yes.
that's going to make things really fun and interesting. Uh,
Yes.
Two, to let this action hero epic moment, this more than any other epic moment feels like a it's off timer. I'm hitting it again. Epic moment,
Yeah. Which is kind of how I feel about like Turn the Tide right now on live.
right?
It has a nice short cooldown to uptime ratio, and you just hit it. It's like it's off cooldown. I just hit this, and you go. And
Yeah,
I think like this action hero sort of perfectly walks the line of powerful enough that you want to use it, but it's also actually not the reason that you go into the dreadnought tree. The
right.
dreadnought tree is very strong by itself. It contains dire charge and dire charge has been beefed up um, in this Epic Destiny pass. So now it sunders and trips, so it hits everything, and you get a nice debuff as you land. Um, so and you get a cool auto crit button, so it's like a guaranteed crit active attack. It's called
Mhm.
like Rally or something. Legendary Rally is what it's called. And the big one for long form raiders, especially, is Dusk Surge, which regenerates your action boosts.
Which
This
is
is
really good.
it's really good. So like earlier this year when update 50 was landing, I worked with our guildie Yang, Carpone on the forums, and we were looking at how to make bow really good. I've seen lots of people in that build. That's awesome. Um, One of the things that we looked at as a design choice was how do we fit more action boosts into this build, because action boosts are really strong. So how do we get more? And so we cut deep. We cut things that were definitely damage increases for like in terms of when we were laying out the gear. We cut things that were definite damage increases for having that item on in favor of having more action boosts. So
Right.
that's why the Lionheart ring is in that build. Is just because it gives you extra action boosts, and like the extra fort bypass is kind of gravy, and that it gives you con and stuff, and like that stuff is all nice. But the reason it's like even considered is because extra action boosts is really good, and that's gonna like your deadly rain can proc off that, and the actual action boosts themselves are amazing, and it's just a whole thing. And so having the ability to regen them super strong, and I
Right.
think is the key reason that you would consider Legendary Dreadnought Tier 5, even though the action boost, action hero is really cool. And I now feel like I've said action a billion times in the last 10 minutes.
Hopefully, if you were listening and playing a drinking game of and action was a keyword, you that
if
wasn't your
action was a
keyword.
keyword,
Yeah.
if action was
Oof.
a keyword, I really hope you muted the podcast for the last 5
Yeah.
minutes,
Oof.
or you
Uh,
got a bucket.
yeah. Dreadnought feels when we go through these trees, and I feel like I keep saying it, but like the trees all feel strong. They get like
Yeah,
if you can get past the I lost this thing that I'm really attached to, they're strong.
yeah. If you come into it with the mentality that your build is gonna have to be different,
Hmm?
you're gonna have to have a different build. Everything is different. the feats you want are different, and the way you're going to lay out your stuff is different. If you come into it with that attitude, you're going to have an amazing time with these destinies because they're actually like all pretty balanced between each other and pretty strong. It's a good time.
There's two things that I've found kind of fun to see in this process.
Hmm.
One is people coming out of the woodworks to advocate for their favorite tree and them being very different trees, right?
Yes.
Like people came out like, "This you're ruining my favorite tree." I'm like, "That's your favorite tree? Cool." Like, and it's different trees. The only one I haven't seen is Magister, right? Like, I haven't seen anyone like complaining that Magister is gone.
Nobody's sad to see Magister go.
Right,
No one who plays in Magister wants to be in Magister. They want to be in a cool epic destiny,
right,
and then they can't be because they need the DCs.
right. But the other thing is like
Which is sorry, go.
the inverse of that is also true. Like we're looking at, I keep maybe it's just because of the circles I'm in. Outside of the people that like I'm leaving the game because of all these changes, people are really excited about very different trees,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
I think a good indication that they're mostly on the right track.
Also, something I want to talk about with Dreadnought is they got a really cool thing, which I'm sad that it's a epic strike because it won't interact with Hunt's End. But Dire Shot is
Mm-hmm.
AoE, potentially AoE CC for range builds,
Yep.
and that's really really cool.
That they made
Um,
dire charge a shot option is
yeah, so it
cool.
can trip, it can sunder, it can stun, depending on how much you want to invest in this tree, and that's super super cool. And, um, yeah, like unfortunately, it's an epic strike, so it doesn't interact super well with Hunt's End. So Hunt's End's usually going to give you the same end result, which is
Kill it.
I've dealt with the enemies that are trying to attack me.
Sure.
They've been dealt with. That's what CC does. That's what killing stuff does. So killing stuff is obviously better, except in weird niche situations like we talked about earlier. Um, but I really like that design, and I hope we see more of that kind of thing
Right.
where because range CC is hard to tech. Like like it's hard. It's mostly you have it or you don't have it. And like old Nerve Venom is a really good example of bad design for crowd control. A lot of people were really sad to see like when multi hit came in. A lot of people were sad to see the Nerve Venom sort of get proxy nerfed by that effect. Um, but it's bad crowd control design because you're not actively in control of it, and so it doesn't reward skillful play, but also it doesn't reward building.
Right.
It's you just take it and it does the thing. That's not that doesn't reward you for spending time trying to learn how to make your build the best build that works for you. It doesn't help that. Whereas this ability Dire Shot is one of the first ranged attacks that's like you need to build around tactics, which range don't do inherently. So it becomes a whole thing, right?
You're talking about tactics DCs.
Yeah, tactic
Yeah.
DCs. Yeah. Yeah, I should mention that. Yeah,
Arcane Archer
yeah,
had the enchantment DCs paralyzing
right,
arrows, but that's
right.
kind of
But
it.
it's also a tree that's so laughably bad, um,
It didn't
beyond
used
its
to be.
one thing.
That's the funny
I
thing.
mean, yeah,
It
it
didn't
used
used
to
to
be
be.
kind of cool, but the funny thing is that even when it used to be pretty good, Deepwood Sniper was actually better. Just no one played in Deepwood Sniper.
I did.
Um,
I liked it.
yeah, well, good for you because it was better. Most people
One
were
of the
like,
few
I want
times that
my
Patrick was ahead of the curve on the build meta.
yeah. It's like I want my Slayer arrow, but it it's not a great tree. So I'm glad to see this effect in a tree that you're going to spend points in at a level where you can get it reasonably early.
Right.
It's just sad to me that it competes with the Epic Strike on 10.
I don't know
Uh,
how sad I am about that, but we'll talk about the reasons for that when we get to Strati. That was a lot.
yeah,
Um.
we've been doing this for over 3 hours.
Yep.
I don't know how much you'll end we'll leave in the edit, but
All of it.
figuring
It'll
out
just
what
be
I'm about.
across multiple
Yeah.
shows.
Okay.
So yeah. So this will be if you're just listening to this, you're wondering why there's only part of the conversations because I cut some of it out and it'll be in the next show down the line. There we go. It's been a while. It's late. You'll probably end up listening to kind of this little big idea a couple times down the road because I'll keep it in there. I don't want to wait 3 weeks for this to get out there too. But I think the thing that I've been noticing a lot from your and I's conversation tonight, VML, is we keep coming back to this. Like, here's this really fun thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of fun in here.
Yeah.
And I think, please let yourself give this a chance beyond this thing that I really love is gone, and now I'm mad and I don't want to try it.
Yeah, please look at the trees in depth and
Don't just
see
look,
how you
try
can
it.
make something. Yeah, try it and see how fun some of this stuff is because some of it's so cool. Like I was giddy and laughing when I used the unyielding sentinel epic moment and I doubled in size. It was so funny.
So please give it a try. And if you still don't like it, that's totally cool. But I think,
But make that opinion after you've tried it and given it a real chance.
and I think like these changes, I think it's really important that you give it that shot because there is a lot of fun stuff in here. There's a lot of cool ways that we can build and not just a character, but a party. Like
the thing that really sticks out to me is you can do cool stuff with your party.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Like I can actually see a conversation happening like, okay, we've got 12 people in our raid and there's 12 epic. Who's taking which Destiny epic moment? Like we want them all.
We want all these things. We want all these funny debuffs and we want all these cool epic moments. Not just like all of the Rangers go tier 5 Shirati because it's the best one.
Right.
Which will probably happen a bit, but you know.
So there you go. Thanks for listening to DDOCast and being a part of the show. VML, thanks a bunch for being on here tonight and spending, like I said, 3 hours recording this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it.
Great. Glad to hear it. Thanks to all the other folks who contribute to DDOCast, to Sandy Stone Games, Wizards of the Coast, and to Cyberbears for hosting the podcast. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOCast.com. You can also support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. We'd be happy to throw you in our list on that website. You can hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including various adventures in DDO, D&D tabletop, and even some other games. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.